All right, we are live. Paul Wheaton, how are you doing today?
I am large. What are you?
Excellent. Hey, I got so first of all, last episode we finished the community discussion of the whole sheet of things to talk about, and that was episode 20. We are now past 20 weeks of doing Permaculture Smackdown. Oh,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it doesn't seem
And,
like it.
and we should say that while we did a bunch, like 4 episodes all about community, it's like that's still not even scratching the surface. And
Oh,
and on
yeah.
top of that, it's all twisted and fucked up because I think it was dominantly stuff out of this noodle here, and and that's just one angle. There's got to be thousands and thousands and thousands of angles, and that's
And
just
I'm sure as we talk about anything, the community side will come up as we continue our discussions. I mean, it's just a way of life or a possible way of life, and just like permaculture, you can bring permaculture into almost any discussion.
true.
Oh,
True.
so there's a couple things I wanted to talk about today. One is the Jamboree. It's the last day to get the early bird special on the Jamboree. What is a Jamboree, Paul? It sounds like you're going to have a circus at your property and there will be animals everywhere. Or what's going on?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, what we're gonna do is we have like I think 4 workshops. Like in part, there's part 1, part 2, and part 3. And the big thing is that part 2 is the innovators event. And here's what we need. We need our innovators to move rocket mass heater technology forward. There's so much to be done, and these guys kind of don't do a lot on their own. So when they're back at their at home, they're up to their eyeballs in projects, and they're not spending near enough time moving rocket mass heater stuff forward. Plus, when they come together, they start to exchange ideas. Some people might call it bickering with each other, whatever. And next thing you know, they are creating. So what we're doing is that it's like, and then the other thing is what we need is it would be great to have like 30 people who come and are here during part 2 to basically help the innovators innovate faster. So like, if an innovator says, okay, I need some more fire brick, then here comes a fire brick. Everything has got a jetpack on it, and all the innovations move forward much, much faster.
And I
That's
imagine they can really stress test these things.
and then there's that, and then there's that. Though, and so then the thing is like, okay, a lot of people, because it's like we've hired a cook. You remember Caitlin, right? Caitlin's coming back.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, she's
yeah,
great.
she's a great cook. So Caitlin's. So we have to pay Caitlin, and we have to buy all this food, and then we have to feed all the innovators, and we got to pay for all the materials and shit like that. So we charge money when people are coming to help, and it's kind of like I know a lot of people are like, why the fuck do I have to pay money and help with this? I was like, well, you do learn a lot of shit. So what we've done this year is we've broken it into 3 parts. There's before the innovators event, part 1, and after the innovators event, part 3. Because these people have such mega uber super skills, it's kind of like, all right, what can maybe they could teach a little something before and after. So if you focus for a moment on part 1, then there's going to be a whole bunch of workshops happening simultaneously, and they're designed so that you can go and hang out with one workshop, and then you're like, I want to go see the other ones that are going on, and you can wander around to the other ones and pick those up. So there's I think we've got 4 things happening simultaneously at any given time. I'm looking. Sometimes maybe there's only 3 things. I'm looking at this list, but it seems like mostly there's 4. Maybe there's 3 or 4 things happening simultaneously.
Seems to rotate. So this first morning there's 3, and then the afternoon there's 4. Then the second morning there's 4, and then the afternoon there's 3.
Okay. All right.
And I'm sure there will be other things happening as
yeah.
there always is at Wheaton Labs.
Well, right. And I mean, like, so basically, and plus the other thing I know, so for example, in part one, there's no mention of Peter Vandenberg teaching anything, but Peter's going to be here, and he's either going to be throwing his shoulder into one of these projects, or he's got his own thing he's got to do. But the other thing is that most of the innovators are going to be here like 5 days before the event starts, making sure that we got all the materials, and then they're already starting to bicker with each other over all kinds of global projects and like, you know, what if we did this and what if we did that, and
Or I'm thinking about bringing something super expensive. Can we not fuck it up in the beginning?
So a lot of times they like 2 months before the event starts, they say, here's what I'm going to do during the Innovators event. So here's the materials that I need. And by the time the first day of the Innovators event starts, they've changed their mind 4 times on what they're going to actually do based upon, well, I was talking to Ernie, and Ernie told me something I didn't know. And then I was talking over here to Matt Walker. Matt Walker said this other thing. Then I'm over here and I'm talking, you know, Tim Barker said, and so then I thought, hey, you know what I'm going to do? So, in fact, right now, today, if people came to Wheaton Labs today, we're currently building the outdoor kitchen on skids. And this is for part 3, where we put in a canning kitchen, an outdoor canning kitchen onto this structure. So of course, building a skiddable structure is not part of the Jamboree, but so we got to get it done before the Jamboree starts. So we're doing that now. But if somebody wanted to come down and pick up some skills in building these skiddable structures, come on down. We're doing it right now.
That sounds like an awesome one. I might come down.
Okay. Well, and then when we're done with that, we're going to move on up to Allerton Abbey. And didn't you go up with us to Allerton Abbey? I know that Weston was there, and Fred was there. And were you there? I think you were there, weren't you?
During what thing?
When we're up there looking at Allerton Abbey, and we're talking about what work do we need to finish this structure. And we were looking. Okay, maybe you weren't there. Maybe this is your look.
Was I there Tuesday? Oh. I don't know. I was up there like 7 times.
Anyway, Allerton Abbey is, of course, roundwood timber framing structure, and there's a problem with it where the two of the posts. So we learned that when building a wafati, what you should do is whenever you put a post in the ground, let's see, yep, then you need to take the excavator and go in order to get it deep into the ground so it doesn't settle. But we've had like 2 posts have settled like 4 inches since Allerton Abbey was put in 4 years ago. And so, you know, we're seeing some stuff and we're thinking like, okay, what do we need to do to make sure it stays structurally sound? And it seems like for the most part, it's staying structurally sound, but there's one thing we want to do to kind of just be double, triple sure. So we're thinking like, okay, we want to do that before the Jamboree, because part 3 of the Jamboree is going to also include building an indoor rocket cook stove and oven by Peter Vandenberg. So, and Peter's style of building things is very meticulous. And so for people that love meticulous, you're going to love, because that's the other thing too, is like when we have had the Innovators events in the past, then we get a bunch of people that show up to help with the Innovators event. And then those people can move around to each different innovator doing their thing. But what tends to happen is that they spend all their time with one innovator. Like some people really groove on the work of Peter Vandenberg. Some people really groove on the work of Ernie. Some groove on the work of Erica. And a lot of people really like Tim Barker. And
or the projects they're doing are just something unique and
sure. And then so it seems like they spend 10% of their time wandering around and seeing everything, and 90% of their time like, you know, I'm going to be an apprentice to this guy during this event kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I wish I could say that the whole event was free, but I mean, we're paying to feed everybody. We're paying to, we're paying all. It's very expensive, and when the event is over, I think for the third time we've done this, I will end up like majorly in the hole. On the other hand, rocket mass heaters will have moved forward in a large way. If there's somebody out there who's a billionaire and wants to send me over some coin, so I'm not in the hole, that'd be spiffy. But in the meantime, I try to make the best of it by selling the tickets, and the early bird price I think is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty big discount. So what's the original price? What's the normal price?
I think we've got it set up so it's $600 per part, and then isn't it like 1,400 for the whole to get all three parts or something?
Well, it's listed as 1,300 right now for all of it. But I don't know if
look at it. See, but
so what's the early bird?
yeah, I'd have to look at your thing. I know it's $500 for one event. Is it $1,300 if you go to all three?
Let's just here's what I'll do. I will share it.
Okay.
That might be the best idea. All right. So
I think you get $100 off if you go to two events, and you get $200 if you go to all three.
All right.
Yeah.
Good food. Let's see here. So there's the early bird pricing. Yeah. So you get $100 off of one event, $100 off of two events. And then $300 off if you do all three.
There you go. All right. So,
but that's only today. That ends today. Is it already the 15th? Holy cow!
Today's the 15th. Today is the last day to get this sweet deal. And the other thing is that it's like we're trying to cover the airfare for all of our innovators. For travel costs.
Some of these people are coming from like the other side of the world.
Yeah, so Tim Barker's coming from Australia, and Peter Vandenberg is coming from Europe. So it's like there's some coin being dropped to pull this thing off and move rocket mass heaters forward. So it's like, and then plus it's like sometimes you teach a workshop and it's like a weekend workshop and it's like $200 because the teacher lives locally and is going to like sleep in his own house,
right?
Anyway, whereas we've got like it's as if we've got 7 teachers, and then on top of that the full-time cook and everything else.
The food costs so much to do an event. When people expect to be fed, and you want them to have a good time and not have to worry about food or leave to go make food. And so it's a big relief to not have to do that, and you're getting this like awesome food. I think one of the coolest things about workshops is seeing their food spread, how they're doing food and providing food to people. It's because everybody does it differently, and some places go crazy nuts with it. Have you ever? There's Joel Salatin does this event like once a year at his place, and it's fucking outrageous with food. They got these giant barbecue pits, like 3 of them, and it's full of chickens, and they're cranking it. Oh my god, it's so much fun. But that's one of the great things about going to these events, especially events in our kind of industry, because you're getting really good food too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So Jamboree, I plan on being there as much as possible. I think I might have to leave a little early, but I'm planning on being there as much as possible.
Well, for the Jamboree, I mean, part one, I think the big showstopper for part one is that we've got we're putting a rocket mass heater, a batch style rocket mass heater, into the Love Shack. So you've stayed in the Love Shack, right?
Yeah.
And Love Shack, it's a little tinier than a tiny house.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight. So then it's like, okay, so a lot of people are into tiny houses and they're asking about rocket mass heaters in tiny houses. And so this is going to be it. Now the other thing is a lot of people are super keen on batch box style rocket mass heaters. And batch box batch box systems are the way of the future for rocket mass heaters, and at the same time, they're the stupidest fucking thing ever implemented. And it's like, they've got a good side, they've got a strong upside, and then at the same time, it's like, okay, prepare to spend 60 to 70% of your time making the damn door. And so a lot of people, it's like, I've seen this, it's like 90% of the installations of a batch box system, it's like somebody rolls in like, look, I made you a batch box system. All you got to do is put a door on it. Bye. See ya. I'm out of here. And then what you've got is shit. You've got nothing. You've got a horrible system. It's awful. It doesn't work worth a damn without the fucking door.
Yeah.
It's pointless. It's useless. It's horrible.
And the doors can be very expensive and difficult to install.
Absolutely. And so it's kind of like, if it ain't got a door, you ain't got shit. And people keep saying that they made a batch box system, but it didn't have a proper door. And it's like, you did not make a batch box system. You made a big fucking pain in the ass ugliness in somebody's house. It's stupid. So then the J-tube systems, it's like the door is 2 bricks. It's like, there, you spent $5, maybe $5.25 or so, and you've got an amazingly excellent door because the design of the system is kind of that way, and the whole system goes together super fast. It's done. You don't have to weld anything. You don't have any of these batch box door issues to deal with. It's simple. It works well. It's amazing. And of course, when you've got a batch box system with a good door, it's like twice as good. Because you can basically, with a batch box system, you can put like 4 times, 5 times more wood in at once, and then once it's done burning it, you can be all done, and it holds that heat longer. So whereas with J-tube, you got to keep feeding it until you get enough wood in for the day.
First of all, Jeff says, I wish Paul would have a strong opinion once in a while. All right. So let me explain the Love Shack to people that don't understand what this is. It's a small cabin on skids. What's that?
We have a thread for it. You can pull it up and show people.
Okay. Well, all right. So it's Love Shack.
Yeah, there you go. So now you can't stop it. Okay.
I hate Googling Love Shack on. All right. Let's see. Love Shack. There we go. Oh no, that's Airbnb. Hey, there's a Permy Love Shack on Airbnb.
Let's be there. So try loveshackpermies.com.
Yeah. Porta Cabin Love Shack. I'm on Permies.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, Porta Cabin layout. Okay, this is where they're actually showing what the idea is for the Love Shack, it looks like. Except they have brick. Okay, anyway. I'll show that. Are you guys seeing this? No, I got to share it.
Oh, yeah, share.
There you go. So this looks like the idea. That's kind of like exactly what I was going to just say is you should do something like this. Because in the Love Shack thing, there's no pictures there.
All right, so scroll down. Whoa, where'd we go? All right. Okay, there, scroll down. Because that's like the rocket mass heater that we talked about one time. Okay, whoa. That point, see at the bottom of the screen right now, it says Porta Cabin Love Shack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was on that one earlier, and I didn't think that was the right
okay.
one. Oh, okay.
Porta Cabin was built in a day. The Love Shack was built in a day. And granted, it wasn't a particularly great structure at the end of the day, but, it's on skids. What an amazing thing. You can just drag this thing around whenever you want, wherever you want. It's like, I want a cabin over there now. And it's like, okay, hook it up with a tractor and drag it over there. Check out. See that picture right there? That's a pocket rocket, which we've banned from this site. But they work extremely well. They pump out so much heat. And you can see the bottom of the barrel glowing red in this picture. But we ban it because it just eats the metal. Where it's the hottest point on the inside, that metal just melts and is gone. And so then you end up having to keep making more. And of course, where does the metal go but up in the atmosphere?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and scroll down some more.
A little scary in a small wood enclosure too. But it's all on brick and everything. So
Yeah. And then of course the downside of a pocket rocket is when the fire goes out, it gets fucking cold.
So is this the pocket rocket here?
Yeah, it's the pocket rocket. But that's all gone. The pocket rocket has been gone for years now.
So, okay, so this is what I was thinking too. So in the Love Shack, it's very small, and it's a bunk bed. There's a bunk bed, there's a bottom bed, which is a larger bed, and then there's a top bed, which has about that much space for you to get into, so you're kind of knocking your head around.
There's pictures of them here in a little bit. If you scroll down a little bit more, there's pictures.
That's not it. But that's what I was thinking for in there, would be like a bed. Right. The Chinese kind of thing.
It's a king style. That's a king style thing.
All right.
Keep going. Keep going.
Gosh, you guys talk a lot. Ooh, that's nice looking. That's not the cabin though. There it is. Nope, that's the shitter. Or this is the showers.
No. That's the porta cabin before it got moved.
Oh, okay.
So that's the Love Shack before it got moved to where it is now. And then here you can see where we're putting in the bunks.
My dad hit his head on this thing a lot. All right. Yeah, there's some people doing stuff.
They're building the trails up behind the house. Oh, you got to go to page 2 now. Scroll up a little bit, and you can see the little thing that says see page 2 there? No, I scrolled up too much. There. See where it says page 2? No.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
My mini pictures of you were over it.
Oh.
All right. Oh, there's that guy. Who's that guy?
Okay, there's Davin.
Yep. Okay. Yep, there's the desk. Okay, so it's got a little desk. It's solar. It's got a solar panel with a charging station here for the devices. And up here is my favorite part. That's where Jocelyn puts all the candy.
I think she set you guys up with some really excellent pork rinds.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one that ate them, but I ate them all. Okay. All right, so there you go. You don't see the batteries when you're in there.
Yeah, I think those got moved so that a lot of our structures go through iterations of improvements.
Yep.
And so I think if you go a little further down, then you'll start to see like where the beds are getting in there and stuff like that. So
neighbor's footprint. That's funny.
There's a lot of turkeys.
That's where it is now, right?
Right.
It looks like the area. Yeah. There's a solar panel. Okay. So now, does this come off when you're moving it, or how's that work?
Well, we haven't moved it since we put it on.
Oh, okay.
So, but I would probably try to get away with leaving it on.
Good stuff. All right.
There it is with both bunks all set up. And look, the batteries have been shoved under the bed there.
Yeah, so I think it'd be great to have a rocket mass bed. Right
yeah.
there.
No, I think it'd be good to get the mass of the heater underneath that bottom bunk, even if it's a shallow mass. Now, I do believe this is going to be a 4-inch system.
So now, if I was building a community, say, or maybe even a property with a bunch of Airbnbs or something like that, this is kind of what I would envision happening for folks. Maybe a little bigger with a bathroom, but having this bunk set up kind of like this with a rocket bed with maybe even and then at the end is a stove where you can actually cook. You're cooking on the rocket bed as well.
Now the other thing is, my understanding is that like the size of the Love Shack is actually slightly larger than Thoreau's cabin.
It does have a big bed. The bed is really big, so that takes up a lot of space in there that you normally wouldn't. And it's not folding up. So some tiny houses, a lot of the furniture like folds up out of the way, so you can use the area for other things.
So a lot of people many years ago, then their bed would probably be about half the width of a twin-sized bed. So we think of twin as like the smallest bed, but when you're like and there's
That's
a twin, that's a twin on the top.
yeah. That's like two cots. A cot is a real like single bed.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
old single beds.
So it'd be interesting someday to look up the layout of Thoreau's cabin. But all right, so yeah, the Love Shack. You've stayed in it, and so so there you get a real clear idea of just how small it is. It is an insulated cabin. It does have a small solar system for a little bit of electricity.
I stayed in there at the tail end of winter, and it was cold, it was spring. Sorry, early spring. It was cold at nights. However, there was 2 of us in there, so our body warmth helped that quite a bit. But definitely having a rocket mass in there would have been really nice. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I think it would be good to get. I mean, if we're talking about a 4-inch system, because that's another thing too, is that there's a lot of people that talk about how a 4-inch system is not possible, but we've seen a lot of progress in the world of 4-inch systems, and then plus it'll be a batch box system. So with a batch box system, it's gonna heat up a lot faster. So like if you've been out all day and then you come in, like you may have been away from this structure for a few days, then the mass has lost all of its heat. The other thing is that in such a tiny space, the mass isn't going to be able to hold heat for multiple days. It's your mass is so small, it's going to hold heat for maybe half a day.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of our systems, the mass is designed to hold heat for many days.
Like in your house, man. Holy cow. It stays warm in there for a while.
Yeah, and I think a cool thing about the one in the house is like when we get like 15 people inside the house to like eat something, then of course all 15 of those people are heaters. And if you were in like a regular house, you'd be like opening up all the windows to like because it got too hot, and you're in the middle of winter. Whereas with that rocket mass heater sitting right there, and it's like, you start the day and it's 68 degrees inside, and then all these people show up, it gets up to like 75, but that's not uncomfortable. And then you don't have to build a fire the next day because it just holds all that heat until the next day. I mean, we've experienced that several times.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Rather
in there. Well, of course, I was staying in the Love Shack, but in the morning I came into your place and I'm like, "Holy cow, it's warm in here!" And the rocket masses, the fireplace was cool. And I'm like, "How?" And well, it's still warm from yesterday morning when we lit it up.
Yeah. Hey, did you see my new video about rocket mass heaters?
No.
I put one out like 2 days ago. And in fact, this would be a great one to possibly put Tuesday in front of, because I'm doing this in response to there was this woman at this. In fact, no, one of our earliest Smackdowns was me responding to this woman who's saying nonsense. She sells herself as a heating efficiency engineer, and all the information she says is all messed up. And so one of our earlier Smackdowns was me responding point by point to the things that she said. But the thing is here it is. I made this video. What is a rocket mass heater? 2 minutes long.
Yeah, it's nothing. Let's watch it.
Okay.
Then I can make fun of stuff.
Okay, go. Do it.
A conventional wood stove is a metal box with a chimney. The fire goes in the box and the heat is extracted immediately.
First, I love the graphics.
The temperature of the fire is usually...
I did that myself!
degrees
I
Fahrenheit,
can tell.
the smoke goes up the chimney due to a thermosiphon. Over time, people learned that creosote would build up in the chimney and cause chimney fires, which could burn down the whole house. The solution was to insulate the chimney, holding a lot of heat in the chimney. When you have a hot fire in the stove, it would often get hot enough in the chimney to burn out the creosote, thus keeping the house safe. The downside is that a lot of heat ends up going out the chimney. So, if you want to keep the heat in your house, you have to burn the creosote earlier. Instead of insulating the chimney, let's insulate the firebox. This pushes the fire temperatures to over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, which will not only combust all the creosote, but all the smoke too. Now our exhaust is typically just steam and CO2. Since there's no danger of a creosote fire, we can extract a lot more heat before the exhaust goes outside. Over the years, we optimized the design. We found we didn't need nearly as much wood, so the burning area became much smaller. We added a stubby chimney inside the system to create a thermosiphon so we could push the heat wherever we wanted. We used a large mass to extract a lot of the heat. A large enough mass would slowly release heat for several days. We came up with a lot of different ideas for pretty. And today, most installations will heat a home with 1/10 the wood, produce 1/100th of the smoke, and people wake up in the morning to a warm house. Safer, cheaper, easier, and more luxuriant.
There's your house one.
Yeah.
If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at Permies.com, where we talk about rocket mass heat.
All right. Someone gave it a thumbs down. I guess they didn't like the CGI.
That might be it. I'm going to thank Ali Brosh for giving me license to make shitty drawings.
Hey, Jeff, you mind sharing that one with our Facebook peoples? Sweet, man. So we've been talking about Rocket Mass and Jamboree stuff for 30 minutes, and I have a bunch of stuff to talk about.
Okay. All right. Let me try and finish the thing with the Jamboree. During the Jamboree, part 1, we're going to do the tiny house batch box. We're also going to do the other big one that's got like half the people that are interested in rocket mass heaters want to put them into their greenhouse. But the thing is that in order to do it in your greenhouse, it has to be waterproof. I mean, it's wet tolerant. So we're going to not, of course, I'm not a big fan of greenhouses, and there's a bunch of other stuff to say about greenhouses. But we're going to do a build of, we're going to heat a hugelkultur bed. So that's going to go right outside the red cabin.
Heat a hugelkultur.
Outdoors, totally outside.
Now,
so it's going to be
not really fuck with the plant. Wouldn't that be too much change, too dramatic, too quick? Of course, you are at the lab, so why not see what happens?
Exactly.
But that's kind of what I envision, is that, like, holy shit, can a plant handle that much change that quickly? I mean, they do go through quite a bit of, more than us. They go through outdoor weather changes, especially here in Montana.
Part 3 of the Jamboree, the big things are going to be Peter Vandenberg's build of a rocket cook stove, and then we're also going to be getting a rocket canning kitchen on skids.
Cool.
And so it's like, so yeah, you get into the fall season and you've got a lot of stuff to can. And it's like, what you need is to be able, because the other thing is like, when you go to can stuff inside your kitchen, like your regular kitchen, it's like you turn that burner on high and it takes forever to get that water boiling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so anyway, we've got all kinds of tricks up our sleeve to be able to do it much faster, much easier. And of course, outdoors, because, you start heating up your kitchen in the fall, it gets way too hot. And so
you could use that same thing. I was just thinking it'd be cool to have that on skids for a portable chicken processing. So you could boil water and process the chicken.
Yeah. All right, there. Now I'm done.
So one of our earlier shows, maybe 18 shows ago, something like that, we talked about this cool video Richard Perkins put out. Remember that guy?
Yeah,
Um,
it's awesome.
so he put out, he had a Kickstarter for a DVD with a documentary kind of thing called Gracie's Backyard. Did you hear about this?
I not only did I hear about it, I supported it. It's one of Olivier's videos, and he got barely funded in that Kickstarter, which is. But they were doing their Kickstarter at the same time I was doing mine, but I still tried to give them plenty of mention and airtime.
I funded it as well, and I got the DVD in the mail, and I watched it, and I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. I thought it was, well, first of all, if you guys are interested, possiblemedia.org sells it now, so you can go here, you can get the digital version or DVD, I think. Yeah, 25 bucks for the DVD. Original is 15, or for the digital is 15 bucks. It's like, it's a little over an hour long. First of all, good for him, man. He's got a really nice setup. And so the way I kind of, when I was watching it, I was thinking, man, it's like watching Joel Salatin's Property, except more orchardy is added to it. Like there's more concentration on the food forest side, a little, or on bringing in the tree systems. But really cool. Did you watch it yet?
I haven't watched it yet. I've got my copy, and I like the idea of being able to watch it and then like record a podcast and stuff. But I mean, I'm trying to get that. I've got a bunch of shit I'm trying to do myself.
Yeah. Well, it was just I got the DVD and I'm like, sit down for dinner, watch it. It was very well done. I loved it. I mean, there was nothing like groundbreaking in it, or like, oh, I never thought of doing something like that. But to see it in action and someone doing it is always nice to see that. And it's great to see his daughter living in an environment like this. We'll talk about it after you watch it.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, guys, if you are interested, head over to possiblemedia.org. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. I just like what they're doing. Well, I'm affiliated, right? We're both into permaculture, but I'm not making any money by saying go buy it. But it's good. It's really good to share with people.
It's possible that we could cover it next week. I'm going to be in Seattle next week, but I don't know exactly what my connection to the internet's going to be like. So it's like there is some question about whether we're going to be able to do a Smackdown at all. But I'll be in Seattle. I'll try to let you know, and then maybe I could watch it beforehand and go from there. But it also seems like it'd be cool to be able to because Smackdown lasts an hour, because Olivier is the one who made Permaculture Orchard.
Which is what I was just going to share.
Okay, so you've seen Permaculture Orchard.
I had. Oh, go ahead.
If you get about 7 seconds into it, take a note at who is the supreme executive producer with bacon, cheese, and sparkles.
Yes. I had Stefan on PTV Presentations. He did a show on membership marketing, which was an excellent. It was a little over an hour long, and then he did a Q&A session with us. You can see that on tv.permethos.com. It's free to watch, and that was another excellent video and series. And so. Yeah, he's doing great work. I'm really happy someone's out there pushing it or making these things, other than us trying to do this as well. They're doing a really good job, and I fully support them. I hope everybody checks them out.
Excellent.
So the reason that came up is anybody can do this, guys. If you want to do this, this is kind of like how I get show ideas or just check out what's going on. Google alerts.google.com or google.com/alerts, permaculture. Anytime anything's talked about on permaculture on Google finds it, I get to know about it. And so that's where I got that from. The recent one was like movie night. We're watching. Someone posted they're having movie night and they're going to watch Permaculture Orchard. So,
which, by the way, we've had one movie night now with the new couch balcony.
Ooh!
I mean, it would be great if you and your dad could come out and bask in the glow of what was created at your dad's hands. We've kind of got the railing up. you know, and it's like we during the PDC and ATC we didn't have the railing up, so we kind of said, okay, no one goes up there because someone's
Big
gonna
bummer.
fall.
Yep.
So now the railing's up, and we did do a movie night. I think we watched the Disney movie Brave when we had a bunch of kids here, and
That's a good one. I like that.
yeah.
Disney. Cliff Ponder, he did most of the balcony work, didn't he? Or he was kind of like the big, yeah. So I think I saw pictures of it. That was great. Me and my dad, that's Bear Paw, by the way, for folks that don't know. We were talking about coming. There was a couple reasons we were talking about coming. One was for the tent poles, the the TP tent. Holy crap, the TP tent poles. To bring you those. Did you ever get some or?
No, in fact, yeah, the TP, the new canvas arrives, I believe around the beginning of September. And so it would be good to have new poles sometime around there.
Okay.
But yeah, the thing is, we've got a list of stuff, and so it's always a big scramble. And as I mentioned, today they're down there building that skiddable kitchen for the Jamboree.
Yeah.
And it's like there's always so many projects. Now there have been, like, another big thing that's been happening is we've had some people here who love to mulch, and so we've been getting lots of our stuff here mulched. And as you saw when you were here, we don't irrigate anything. And so without mulch, some of the stuff didn't have any mulch. So without mulch, it's like all the plants that are growing on there go through boot camp. And it's like, good luck, plants. If you're not tough, you're not going to make it. And the other thing is it's like, it's a good thing that some of these places haven't been mulched for a couple of years. And then there's like snowberry and some of the Saskatoons and stuff have started to grow. And then we could trim those down to like 8 inches tall, and then they hold the mulch up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing come up on my alerts is actually totally affiliated with me, and that is Michael Jordan's next module for the beekeeping course. This is all about winterization, and so that is, we just started the early bird special on that. $70 and you get 13% off. So and it's quite long, and he does a lot. It's really great. Anyway, you can go there and check it out. Learn.permaethos.com. It's on there.
Cool.
Let's see here. Next one was Ben Law. Just got he got the Building Crafts Award, or a Building Crafts Award, and that was for he's got like these chestnut. I think it's chestnut. Let's see here. Anyway, the roofing is all chestnut. Yeah, it's chestnut shakes that he did. This is in the UK. So the Suez Heritage Trust awarded him the 2017 Builders Crafts Award. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Ben Law.
Is there a zoomy picture so like we can look at the chestnut shakes? No, that's all there is.
Ben Law. Chestnut shake roof. Let's see what happens. Okay, yep, this one's pretty darn big.
Yeah.
I want to save it. All right, I'll do it. Whatever. We'll save it and play that whole game.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, congratulations. And you want to see it? Yeah, we can share it. Here, I can share it real quick. We can get all zoomy in on it. All right.
Oh, there you can see it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's about as good as it's getting, I think, for that close.
That's a lot of shakes.
A lot of shakes, yeah. That's a pretty big building. I think this is the biggest shake roof building in the UK. I think that's what they were saying in the article.
Oh.
There's 2 of them. Or maybe that might be a you thing.
It looks like they're pretty straight grained and pretty nice. I mean, we we made some shakes. We got some shake roofs made out of tamarack, and we learned that if you're going to make a shake roof out of tamarack, you better make the roof a lot steeper, because the tamarack ends up a little thick and a little curly, not as straight grained as you might like. So more experiments to come.
All right. Next up was this article on Food Tank, preserving indigenous farming knowledge and practices. So I guess the UK or the UN decided to make some kind of Indigenous Peoples Day or something, a 10th anniversary. I don't know. Anyway, but what's interesting was they went into agroforestry in here and actually started talking about permaculture, which I thought was pretty cool. One of the classic things I see in permaculture PDCs and different courses is talking about the native Mexicans that would have chinampas, right? Chinampas are a big thing. And they were saying, like, there's always these pictures, these cool, they're drawings or paintings of these giant chinampa systems in like Mexico City, which is very permaculture-esque. So I thought it was kind of a cool article. If you guys want to check that out, that's on Food Tank. Let's see here. Millennium Post just put, can farming be a permanent renewal of life? And then they got a cool article here on permaculture. What do you think, Paul? Can permaculture be a permanent renewal of life? When I saw this article title, I was like, okay, is this going to be some kind of like permaculture burying ceremony where they're like burying someone in a permaculture method for the renewal of life? All right.
All right. So we had to go to Missoula today to run some errands before our trip to Seattle. And on the way into town, then Jocelyn started telling me about somebody who had been struggling with depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a bunch of different people ask me about my philosophies on people with depression. I don't know why they would ask me. I've never struggled with it, other than when awful people do awful things to me, which people with depression, it's like they don't have that. I like Ali Brosh's article on depression, and but because I just want to say, so you're asking this question is a renewal of life, and I kind of feel like when I explore people who say that they have depression issues or that they're looking for something more kind of a thing, I do kind of feel like when your life fills up with a big to-do list and you're getting a lot done, I think depression might possibly take a backseat and become small and far away. When you're getting a lot done. So it's like, I think that just from the title of the article, does it bring, I think the phrase was renewal of life. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I just see so many people where their existence is banal. And I think a lot of people come to permaculture because they're so weary of that, and they wish to have substance in their life, and they wish to do something more. Yeah. Even if it's something on Facebook, which Facebook is shit. Go to Permies instead. And then they can do something that has meaning, and even though it's like just in their backyard, and it's something of great substance, and making a difference, even though you just did a thing in your backyard. So I do feel like there's an enormous amount of stuff there, and it's also countering a lot of, because the other thing is, like, let's say you're kind of depressed, and then you kind of look at government-y things, and I think that kind of compounds it. Or if you look at the newspaper, or you look at the talking heads on the news, or something like that, then I kind of feel like, on the other hand, if you go and you cover half of your food needs from your garden, and suddenly all those things that are in the news and that are part of the government things, they become smaller and more far away. And then because you're doing something that is substantial and significant, growing food, I think that's a rewarding experience. Just to be a gardener at all, I think so forgive me as I kind of go a little bit down woo-woo path. I kind of wonder if human beings were designed, and I know the moment I say that, it's going to upset a lot of people, to be gardeners. I mean, is it possible? I mean, I kind of feel like that might have some truth to it. Maybe a lot of truth to it.
I would like to think it does, right? I mean, I would love the idea that we are here to care for the earth, and like we're here to help it along. And I think that like the whole purpose of us is to speed up what nature is doing, or like just to make it happen quicker and better, and to build soils better, and to really support life, other life cycles.
So then if anybody asks me, about depression-y things, or about renewal of life, or, things in that space, then of course my answer is always going to be that I want them to do what I do. And I want to encourage gardening, and I want to encourage being obsessed about permaculture. And I think that is rejuvenating and brings you life, just getting your hands in the soil and growing some food. And then, of course, there's all the stuff about rocket mass heaters, natural building, et cetera, too. And, of course, community, but without the drama. Can you get the upsides of, because I don't know if you're in a funk, if you're kind of got some depression stuff, but you're like in a healthy community. I mean, wouldn't that counter that in a big way? Wouldn't it? Maybe.
Lisa says, I think you're totally right. I had clinical depression for years. When I started gardening, it helped. But when I found permaculture, it totally changed everything.
Totally changed it from helping?
Yeah, no.
And then it was even better.
And this will be my last conversation. Goodbye. No, I think the longest lasting kind of depressing thing in my existence or life that I think about is government. It's like, all right, I hate government. We can do better without it. And now what?
How do I live my life with less government?
Yeah. And that becomes very fucking depressing because it's very difficult. And they make sure it's difficult.
I wish to make it easy.
Yes.
I work really hard to make it easy for people. And I kind of feel like, and I think I've mentioned it on the Smackdown before, that you have to be fucking freaked out about who's elected for president if you live in a city and you're not doing permaculture. Because that guy can fuck up whether you get food or not. And it's like, so that's an important thing. But if you're doing homesteading and permaculture, you live out in the country and you're growing most of your own food already. And then, let's say somebody gets elected to be president and they fuck everything up and people are dying from starvation. It's kind of like, that's a problem that's far away. It's not impacting you. Now, of course, you could get into the whole prepper thing about like how many guns you got and are they going to come and raid you or whatever. But I think for nearly all the problems that happen, if you've got homesteading and gardening, homesteading and permaculture, you're pretty, you don't have to, you're not paying attention to government. And when you're not paying attention to government, you end up in fewer government databases. And because you're fewer government databases, they're not like coming and knocking on your door to saying, hi, we're from the government. We're here to help you.
Yeah.
Say, no, thanks. I got all the government I need.
I do think that practicing growing your own food and having that sustainability in your life is at least 80% of preps. As far as prepper stuff goes, that's at least 80% is being able to produce your own food. That's we talked about this when we were a couple episodes ago. We were talking about security, how important it is for people to have security in their lives. Well, growing your own food is like the ultimate security. if you're running low on funds and you can't just go to the grocery store, or the grocery store doesn't have any fucking food, it's really nice knowing that you have some food.
Right. Safety. And that's another thing too, is I think I wrote something like about a year ago that said, if you have $1 million in the bank, that isn't safety. That isn't near as good a safety as having a garden that's already feeding you like a good 80, 90%. Because like, let's say you've got $1 million in the bank and things go bad. First, your $1 million isn't worth $1 million anymore. But like, let's say somehow magic happens and you can go and buy your safety. And it's like, did you make good buying choices, or did you kind of fuck it all up?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is going to be about knowing what to do, knowing what to buy. And then even if you go and you buy it, it's like it takes a while to build up good soil for a good garden and things like that. So it's like it's still not the same. So people that didn't have $1 million, they're way ahead of the game of the people that do have $1 million and aren't doing anything with it. So,
Step 1, grow a garden. Step 2, start doing permaculture. Step 3, surround yourself with other permaculture people.
it all comes back to community, doesn't it?
Yep, it does. Jeff says, yeah, I soaked up news hardcore for 2 years. I became so sick and tired, I woke up. So I guess in the end, maybe I can thank the news for being so ridiculous. It is. Watching the news now, you're like, what the fuck is happening? What is? You think you're watching a movie where they got like ridiculous news in the background or something? No, that's the real news that's happening right now.
Well, I kind of wonder if part of it might be that like decades ago when we were younger, then there wasn't an internet, and the way that you got the news was different than the way we get the news today, and so now we think that the world's a shittier place only because the communication channels are better.
Here's what I think happened. Internet comes along. Now we can get our news other places. Now the ratings start dropping for news companies. And so the news companies got to blow shit out of fucking proportion to try and keep their ratings. Like,
if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. And they're on their way out. There's some big news agency just announced that they're looking at bankruptcy or they're about to. And it's like, yeah. Go. I just hope. I think news organizations, or at least mainstream news, is really on the way out, or at least in a big. They're gonna have to go through a major change. My only big concern is that the government doesn't start thinking they're too big to fail, and we got to like bail them out.
I don't want to think about that one either. I kind of wonder about good investigative journalism. I mean, when there's people being naughty, then we used to have like investigative journalism that would go and find the naughty and tell everybody else about it. Now I kind of can't help but feel like that without that backing of a big company, then a naughty person can go in and start investigating. Big company just kills them and they're dead, and then we never get the story, and no one gives a shit that the guy is dead because it's just some guy, and it's like, there you go, it's over. And
we're starting to see a lot of leaks now. The internet, I think, has definitely opened up, because it used to be that way. I think, and it still is. I'm sure there's still like 2 to the back of the head to the person that's going to disobey or release something that they shouldn't. But the internet and technology is making it easier and easier for those kind of things to get leaked out, and for people to more securely release that kind of information. So I'm glad for that. Anyway, that's the.
It used to be that an investigative journalist would like have a bunch of notes back in his own office, and a bunch of people within his group would be knowing what he's going to go and do and what he's getting into. And then if he mysteriously disappears or whatever, then it's like he mysteriously disappeared while investigating those guys.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, which looks really suspicious, right? Somebody at least is going to make the call. It's like, you know, we don't want to lose any more journalists over here. And so somebody's at least looking into it. And so then when the journalist is there, it's like, okay, we're going to choose to not kill that guy because that could hurt us just as much, if not more, than if, we do something else. So, but now I kind of feel like, all right, yeah, news, ooh.
Biased. I think that another big thing is the bias. It's hard to find news that isn't biased any longer.
All right, but depression and renewal of life, gardening, permaculture, homesteading, I think there's a lot to that, and I think that there is a lot of stuff a person could do that's of great substance. But what I don't really know. I'm glad to see some of the people who are in the chat talking about depression and how this really does help.
Yeah.
By pursuing permaculture, your depression mysteriously probably doesn't go away entirely, but it probably becomes a bit smaller and a little further away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just had a friend a couple weeks ago commit suicide, which was very sad to see. And he had the depression, and he wasn't gardening. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think manipulating the land and then creating something from it is very, very rewarding. And I think it really, and seeing the life cycles, and when you bring in all these other life systems that you didn't plant, that is really rewarding too. Like all of a sudden lizards start showing up where you were gardening, things like that. It's a daily rewarding, or a reminder of rewarding. Or when you've grown your food, you've harvested it, you've put it, you canned it or whatever. It's the middle of winter, no more gardening's happening. It's dark outside and depressing, and then you crack open those green beans that you had that summer. It's those kind of things that keep the depression away. It's a really good feeling that you get every day of your life.
Rhubarb, man.
Yeah, rhubarb pie.
As long as we're talking about mental health and depression or things like that, I got to say that when I was 20, I learned to stop consuming all dairy. And now I would say the exception to that would be raw dairy, raw organic dairy.
Yeah.
That for me, that turned out to be an issue. Not that it would made me depressed, but that it made me lethargic.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like dumb feeling.
and dumb. I felt really, and it's still that case. And then once in a while, I'll be like, I'm having pizza, screw it. And then I'm going to have some ice cream, a milkshake or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's going to piss away my next 2 days, but fuck it. You got to have, you got to have that once in a while. Like live life, live large, right? Yeah. The next one I discovered was B12. It was about 10 years ago. And I found out that my B12 levels were super low. And it took a long time till my B12 came back up, but that made a big difference. And then finally, it was about 3 years ago here, and I was feeling exhausted constantly. But of course, I was working 100-hour weeks on permaculture stuff. And basically it turned out to be that men my age start to accumulate too much iron, probably from not enough sword fighting, And so what it is that when you donating blood turned out to be the solution. So now I go and I donate blood regularly, and that helps keep my iron levels in check.
Right.
And so it's made a significant difference. So like those, I mean, it's not really a depression thing, but along those lines, those would be the three things if somebody came to me and asked, those would be the three things that I would suggest, as well as the stuff we talked about earlier about, gardening.
I would also say for diets, a lot of people get depressed because they do diets, and they can't, like they either do the wrong diet or they just can't see it through, right? They get that feeling of failure because they're not seeing the diet through, or whatever, they cheat too much and then they're just off the diet and then they feel like they failed and then they get depressed. Well, what's great about gardening is you don't have to really be on a diet. Just grow your food you eat, or get it from where it was made or how it was made. And so it's not really a diet, it's just restricting your your intake of processed or outside foods. And I think that helps a great deal.
So is somebody torturing children at your house?
Oh, we got new neighbors, and they have kids, 4 kids. So, yes, kids are torturing kids near my house.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing we got to close up, guys. Also, by the way, if you guys are here and so we're live streaming to like Facebook and all these other places. But if you're a supporter of Patreon, Paul's Patreon, or Perma Ethos, you get access to this special live feed where you can interact with us. You can ask us questions, type in the chat, things like that. And we also are now spending like an extra 5-10 minutes either before or after the show just to talk with people about off-camera, real kind of whatever you guys want to talk about. It's just kind of extra after the show or before the show kind of stuff. So stick around. Paul and I, after the show, will be chatting with you guys that are the supporters. And we just want to say thank you. That's why we're doing it. Last thing I wanted to share was Total Landscape Care. And I was really glad to see an article. I wish the article was much more detailed than it is, but it's a great headliner. USDA hardiness zones, more of a guideline than a rule. Thank you. Yes, it is. Because with permaculture, we can manipulate, we can create microclimates like they're talking about here to create our own little zones, micro zones. So I thought it was good seeing that article.
You know, along those lines, I just saw in that article that you just flashed up on the screen that it said PRI says you can change the temperature of things by as much as 10 degrees. I have to say that you can change things as much as 30 degrees, and that's just with what we've come up with so far. And so Ianto Evans, I've got a video of Ianto Evans giving a tour of Cobbville, and in it there's this cob wall that's got a sun scoop shape, and he says it's 30 degrees warmer inside of this space, and that's measured, not a guess. And so I think that's really profound. Of course, Sepp Holzer's growing lemon trees in the Alps, and it's like there's not to mention the fact that if you're want to go the other way and you want to cool things off, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. But having a truly massive tree makes a big difference in making a really cool spot. So it's kind of like, I think we've got a lot more that we can do, but more than 10 degrees.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I found, so when you just flashed that up there, it said as much as 10 degrees in it, and I want to take issue with that and say, no, at least 30. Like I think we could probably do more than 30. And by the way, did I mention the rocket mass heater outside?
Absolutely. Martin Ecosystems. We'll talk about that offline, Thomas. All right. Another great episode. Thank you, Paul. We'll see. Are we doing it next week? Are we, when are we taking a break?
We either are or we're not.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are on next week. We are taking a break for Jamboree. So if you want to hear us.
Well, now, next week we're going to be in Seattle. And I'm not sure what my internet connectivity is going to be like. It's possible I won't even be able to do it.
Okay.
So, it's a little iffy. We got to do some testing and see, and I'll let you know just as soon as I can.
Yep. I need to know at least a day in advance.
Okay.
All right. Cool, guys. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye.
Bye.